right, a very warm welcome to another episode of Fauza's Diary. If you are looking for something little and yet inspiring, then you have stumbled upon the right show. That's the beauty about my diaries. They inspire us, they encourage us, but also they make us think. Joining me today on this particular conversation is my sister friend, Thando Magumise, joining me right here from United Arab Emirates, Dubai. She is the founder and creative director of Ntombi Couture, and I am so thrilled that she said yes to say this, to say yes to do this with me today. Oh my goodness, Thando, thank you so much, sweetheart. Thank you for saying yes to do this, and welcome, welcome, welcome,
Thank
welcome.
you. How are you, Sissy?
I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Thank you.
It
Thank
looks like
you
it's
so
a
much.
natural hair color your hair blonde period in our lives, right? You look amazing.
Yeah, yeah. You inspired me when you went wide. I was like, oh my goodness, she looks so amazing. She looks so amazing. So yeah, Thando, what a journey, right?
Indeed. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you mean business, personal, but for sure, what a journey. What a journey. And obviously being in 2021 right now, I think literally the whole globe can say the same thing. It's like
Yeah,
we've been
yeah.
going through quite an interesting, tumultuous time.
Yeah, and I'm so glad, Thando, that honestly, and I say this not just for this, but I'm just glad that our paths have crossed, since last year, collaborating together, working together, not just us, but with some of other friends also who've been on this journey together. It's been an interesting journey, but this is about Ntombi today. And I know you have actually navigated your way, sweetheart, to get where you are. You were in
Yes.
corporate, for a long time, and then you made a switch. What was your driving force for that? Because I'm just thinking you had such a good job, Thando,
Yeah.
and then you navigated and you said, okay, this, I will put it on the side. I'm going to focus on what God has called me to do.
Mm, mm. And I'm glad you've highlighted that part about God calling you what to do. So,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of a driving force, I've always known that I would end up as an entrepreneur. I'd end up in business. I think the biggest thing was, when was the right time? And I can even tell you when I started focusing on my business full time, it didn't even happen at the time I thought it was going to happen. When I look back in hindsight, I look at it and I think, wow, that was really God's timing. You know, like many people in Dubai, you come into companies, you get these amazing jobs. I came in from South Africa as well with the most amazing job, great team. I was in electronics in the marketing team there. And, even though growing up, I already knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I also had this double sided thing where I felt like I had to achieve in the corporate world. I had to push, right? And because we all grew up in a very linear generation, you know what our generation was like. You have to go to school, you have to pass your O levels, your A levels with flying colors, go to university, get your degree. When you're done with your degree, you have to get the amazing job, the amazing house, the amazing husband, the amazing kids, the this, the that, right? But it's very linear. It's like there was a formula that you're programmed growing up that you're told.
Yeah.
And in as much as I got to that job that I really, really loved, I made the move to the UAE after I got married. My husband had been here previously, and I when I was in high school, I remember seeing my first lesson and seeing a balance sheet, right? An accounting balance sheet, which was my first lesson in commerce at that time, which is now business studies. At the time, I was 15 or 16. And I remember just feeling my heart skip a beat when they explained to me that this is what commerce is, this is what being an entrepreneur is. You need to spend money to make money and you have to balance that out. I think it was more of that challenge, like, okay, but if I spend money, how am I going to make more money? I need to put A, B, D in and see if this formula works. If it doesn't work, I'm going to do that instead and see if that works. So while I was working, that thing kept nagging me, like, okay, I know I'm going to be an entrepreneur, but what am I going to do exactly? Right? So when I came to Dubai, there was a period where I wasn't working, just going back to my shift here. And I think that's where the idea and the drive got solidified. The seed was planted way earlier in my life. Like I said, there was commerce, and I also had studied fashion and fabrics, which, funny enough, I did not like. I did not like learning how to sew. I didn't like any of that stuff, but I was also good at art, right? So funny enough, at school, I got an exposure to exactly what a fashion business needs. You need to be able to be creative, you need to be able to draw, you need to be able to design, you need to have your business sense really strong. Otherwise, you're not really running a business, right? And you also then need to be able to market yourself, etc. So the irony is that I then majored into finance and marketing later on in life in university, ended up in corporate. But when I made that move, I wasn't working for a few months. That's where I think the ideas really, really solidified. But the interesting story is the seed of Ndombi as a business in particular was planted earlier as well. This is me giving you background of how a lot of different pieces in my life growing up actually came together to culminate to what Ndombi is today. I remember when I was in my leavers year, which was, I think in Kenya you have A-level as well, right?
Yes, we've got A-levels in Kenya, yeah.
Final year of high school, the typical prom. We used to call it a leavers dance. And they had an African-themed dance. So everyone had to come dressed in African clothing. And I came up with this design. At that time, I was really inspired and fell in love with the Xhosa culture. So my first piece was black and white with the Xhosa stripes, and I won best dressed for that. And I remember thinking, oh, okay.
You designed that. You designed that. Wow.
I didn't really expect to win it. I remember just thinking this is a really fun project. Trust me, before that, Fauza, I had never designed a single dress in my life. Like, I wasn't that girl who was always fantasizing about, I should be on a runway, or I want to do this. So I knew nothing about a lot of international designers. But when I moved to South Africa after winning that prize, I came across two main designers that really inspired me. I remember one was called Stoned Cherry, and the other one was called Sun Goddess. And those guys, I remember just they opened up my eyes to how beautiful African design can be and how contemporary it can be, right? Wow. And that it doesn't always have to be, at that age, you don't appreciate your roots. You don't appreciate how beautiful fabrics are. You just want long hair like everyone else. You want to dress like the coolest kid in town.
Look at us now. We can't be bothered even with short hair.
Exactly. And I remember, funny you say that, because my mom used to always ask me to cut my hair. She'd be like, babe, you look so beautiful with short hair. And I fought her through it through high school. And lo and behold, when I cut it, she's like, I knew you'd come around.
I've always told you that I love you in short hair. I think since I've known you, I've always told you I don't want you in braids. It's like you make them for me, but I'm just like, you look just amazing with short hair. And now that you've gone tinting, oh my goodness, it's even extra spectacular. I really love it. So thank you so much, Thando, for sharing all that and how God has sort of, it's really makes sense the way even the Bible say that everything that it's orchestrated and God really predestines and he leads our steps, because whatever you do, you are honoring your gifts and your talents that God actually has impacted in you, so that it can be evidence and a testimony to other people as well. So you've shared a bit about, how the idea was birthed, but I want you to go in depth, because I know there is so much that, many people, they don't know about what Ntombi Couture, the vision. You've talked a bit about the dots, connecting the dots, but I want us to hear more about Ntombi, the vision.
The vision. I know we've had numerous discussions about the visions that God can give you and the seeds that He plants in your mind and in your heart.
Yeah.
That if you water those seeds and you take your time with them and kind of take them as part of your purpose, they grow into something amazing. And that's what happened with Ndombi. So when I moved to South Africa at the time when I was in university, my whole focus, like I was saying to you, was just career, 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 career. But one night I went over to Rhodes University to visit a friend. And remember, the seed has been growing since I won that award, but I didn't really realize it, right? Until one night we're speaking, and this friend of mine has been such a strong spiritual shoulder for me and a very big rock in my life. So we met when we were 15 at a church camp, and from then we've always been really close. And I remember just spending some time in prayer with her that night, and we kind of dozed off, chatting about life and a lot of things that we wanted for ourselves, and just encouraging each other to trust God. And I remember she fell asleep earlier than me, and I just kind of spent some time. I'm a firm believer in what Revelation speaks about writing your visions on a tablet, right? And I had this journal where, because I used to do a lot of journaling at the time, kind of putting down my prayers, speaking to God about a lot of my dreams, anything concerning me, because it's amazing when you go back and you see the things you've written down and you realize, oh my word, God has really walked me through so many things, you know. And I wrote this vision down. I remember just seeing this brand, you know, that was an encouragement to other women. Being at a girls' school, I used to really struggle with this, Fauza. I grew up with boys. There are a lot of things that I wasn't very sensitive to until I ended up in a girls' school. And one of those was, you know, people struggling with hormonal issues, people struggling with body image issues, people struggling with self-esteem, you know, a lot of things. And unfortunately, throughout my life, I've seen that affect people close to me. I've lost a few friends to depression. And a lot of girls grow up either being prepared to get married, or if you look a certain way, people will love you. If you don't look a certain way, people won't love you. And I used to get confused, like, why does this affect people around me so deeply? You know, growing up with the boys I did, my brothers were more of father. My older brother was really a father figure in my life. To this day, he encourages me. You look amazing. You look beautiful. You can do this. My mom, my younger brothers, they're all the same. So I grew up not with a perfect life, but I can tell you that I grew up knowing I was loved. I grew up being told I was beautiful. So I took that for granted, right? So the night comes where I'm with this friend, and I'm talking to God about this stuff, you know. And at that time in my life, unfortunately, I was also just coming to a realization with a lot of abuse that had happened in my life, that it was starting to affect my self-esteem. And I kind of connected that now I can relate to what a lot of girls were going through at the time, you know. So I was praying about healing and things like that. And I just got this image of a brand that I would love to do, that encourages people to focus on what they love about themselves, not about what you don't like about yourself or what the world has told you is not amazing about yourself, right? So, for example, I remember clearly thinking, I want to be able, if I'm going to be an entrepreneur for fashion, I want to be able to make that impact through clothing. We all know clothing is a very personal thing. Just like our bodies, right? It covers our bodies. It makes us either feel really good or not.
Absolutely.
It's a self-expression. It's a way that people show the world what they feel, who they are. It's a way of kind of going from internally who you are and expressing it externally, right? So I take clothing that seriously. More than just looking amazing, it was about, how do I make an impact one person at a time in a way that they'll also never forget, and in that way, you know, extend God's kingdom. And for me, that's where it really hit the nail on the head. I felt like God that night gave me a glimpse of what my purpose should be, or at least a part of my purpose. So that's really the deep part of the vision, which I know I don't really get to tell a lot what happened when I wrote this down. But going back, I still have that diary. I think at that time it was probably 2004, right? We're in 2021 now, right? I still have it. I go back time and time again if I feel like I'm kind of losing the vision somewhere along the line. so that it reminds me of that moment that I was there. So I hope that answers your question. That was the vision. It was a one-on-one moment with God. Yeah.
Yes, and this is so profound and so powerful, Thando, because I know we've had these conversations together, behind the scene between us. And that's why I wanted us to have this conversation. And it's also because the more we have, collaborated or even worked together or even talked together, even not just work or business things, but just even like just when we had an afternoon tea not long ago, together. I just feel like there is just so much in you that 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 many people can be inspired and encouraged. And what I really love about it is the fact that you are honoring the vision. And I love what you always say to me, Fauza. When I feel I'm going a bit astray, I'm always going back to the vision because I know it was godly given and I'm not going to be running for the things of this world. And that is so profound, Thando, because there's just so much noise in the world now. I mean, we need to make money. Oh, Sissy, we need to make money.
We have to survive, right?
No, this hair is not cheap,
This hair is not gonna do itself, honey.
But always grounded. I find that's something you actually encourage me with.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing because it always keeps you in line. It's so easy, like you said, there's so much noise. It's easy to get caught up in the noise. It's easy to want, we always talk about this, it's easy to want the accolades, to want people to see, because part of running a business is to be seen, is to market yourself, is to put yourself out there, right?
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
There is a need to always go back and question yourself. Why? What is my why? And what's driving me? So when I go back to that notebook and I look at, and it's in pieces now, by the way, but when I go back and look at it, I say to myself, this is who you are, Thando. This is part of your calling. You just, sometimes we all need that reminder so that we can kind of center ourselves and go back to the why. Because the why, Fauza, is what keeps you waking up and doing that business even when things are not okay.
Absolutely.
Even when things are great, and you won't mind doing it. You won't feel like it's necessarily a job. So, for example, some clients don't really like talking about things like that, and that's fine, but it's always nice to put it out there to be like, okay, so what do you like about your body? What don't you like, right? Because usually people want to cover that, and we'll do that. But let's also put an extra layer to it. What do you want to highlight? Do you like your legs? You don't have to go mini skirt if it's not your thing, but we can find ways to make you highlight what you like. Because when someone is dressed well, Fauza, you should see, like, there's this thing that happens, their posture strengthens up. You see a face lighting up. There's nothing, I kid you not. It's nice to get paid, but nothing beats seeing someone's face and posture completely change, because you can tell that they're even shocked. Oh my gosh, I can look this good. But in reality, they can go back and think, look, I look this good. Ndombi is a great designer, but she used a brief that was led by me and what I like about myself. It's very different from just going into a shop, putting on something, looking amazing for a few hours. You take it off and suddenly you just feel like, oh. Because remember, clothing as well is like makeup. It can be a pillar to hide things. Right? But you can also wear makeup to highlight what you like about yourself, so it doesn't become a crutch, right? It's the same thing with clothing, where it's like, let's try and encourage positive mental health amongst ourselves and with each other. Even as a woman, as a mom myself, our bodies are constantly changing. I can totally relate to that, and so I try to remember what we talk about: minister to yourselves. At times you have to minister to yourself.
You told me the other day, sometimes you need to coach yourself, Fauza.
I was
like, and that has been my takeaway for this month, because this month has been very difficult, Thando. So when you told me that, I was just like, She just made a lot of sense that
I'm glad I made sense.
sometimes you want to help others, but I love what you said, Fauza. Sometimes it's okay to talk to yourself, to coach yourself. I was like, wisdom there.
Because you're usually coaching everyone else, right? You're usually counseling everyone else. But sometimes we need to give ourselves a pep talk to help us gather our thoughts and get through certain challenges as well, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with clothing. There are times where I'm like, oh my gosh, my waist is not like what it used to be like when I was 18. I don't even think it's ever going back there. But I can dress it up. I like my curves. I might as
Absolutely.
well just dress myself up to accommodate that, and I feel amazing.
Yeah. And I love what you always say, that you can dress for everybody, everybody, every figure can be dressed. There is every human body structure
Yes.
has a beautiful clothing to, that can
Yes.
accentuate everything. And that is so
100%.
powerful because there is just so much, there is just too much of this, too much of that, or a little bit of that, and a little bit. But I think what you're saying is so important. When we just love ourselves with everything that we have that makes us us, everything, when everything else will actually make so much difference. I
It
know you've
will.
shared a lot, but who do you design for? Who is in Tombi for?
So, so when you look at our designs, you will see that they're very clean, very classic cuts. I like to make timeless pieces. We do have the Brides of Africa collections where we custom make certain clothing, dresses, etc. for brides and grooms. And we also do custom make if someone comes and they've got a wild idea and they just want to blow the hats off an event or something, we go there. But the collection that we are also working on it to be shoppable online is more ready to wear things that are classic. The everyday person can wear it, but it's more for that sophisticated person who likes fine linen, for example, who likes a clean finish, who wants to look dapper, who wants to look clean, but also like they didn't try. There's nothing better than putting on something
Good
looking
without
like
trying
you
so
made an
hard.
effort, looking like you made an effort. You look like, what usually do these young people say, rich auntie vibes.
Rich aunties.
Like all you gotta do
Yes,
was
rich
just put on
aunties.
one piece, you know what I mean? And it's, but you will wear that piece forever. And it's something that I really, really pride our business on, is to source fabrics that I want you to wear until you're tired of them.
That
That's
is
how much
true.
the quality goes up. So that's where our thing is: keep it classic, beautiful quality, but something that anyone and everyone can wear. And I like the fact that you mentioned body structures as well, because we try and design a lot of pieces that any body shape can wear, especially the one size fits all type of stuff. I think anyone and everyone can look great in those ones.
Yeah. Thank you, Thando, for sharing that. I love this conversation. But I know it always looks rosy and lovey-dovey, especially with the power of social media these days, Thando. This social media, it is a great tool, but it has also created a lot of unhappiness.
Yeah.
And people, they will see you in the runway and they were like, OMG, I want to be Thando. I want to be Tanta. Because we want that. Many people want this. Sometimes they don't even know what they want, Thando. But for you as a businesswoman, as a mother, as a wife, as an entrepreneur, you know that it's not always that rosy, that easy. It's always not that what people see. I always see most of the time people choose to see the glory.
Yes.
Now, I'm sure someone might want to hear, as a believer, because I know you hold so much on your faith in your business, in your life, with your family. That's how much I know you hold on so much to your faith with Thando. Has there been a moment as a businesswoman, where your faith was tested? And how did you deal with that? And what did you learn about yourself, Thando? Because people, when they see you looking so cute like
Yes.
this, they're like,
Yes.
I want to be like her. You cannot be like her because you don't know the journey she's traveling.
Yes. Yes. And preachers
Them.
always talk about, like Joyce Meyer, and they always talk about how, listen, you do a better job being you than anyone else. God didn't make you to be somebody else because you're gonna fail at that. So you might as well just succeed at being yourself. But yeah, I like that question, because being in fashion is a very visual business. And it's like influencers and blogging, right? Social media has just taken it to another level, and everything has to always look perfect, etc. Even when you're taking a fashion picture, this frill here must sit a certain way, otherwise it doesn't look perfect, right? And the problem with that is it's actually added pressure to the usual challenges that we do face. And as a businesswoman, I can tell you, and as a Christian, as long as you're running a business, challenges are part of the game. It's literally there. And the sooner as an entrepreneur you accept that, the better, because it's like I said to you, it's about figuring things out, formulas that work, strategies that work. If it doesn't work, shift that. Let me try this, let me try that. But I can tell you an example of where my faith has been tested. I mean, at the beginning, this vision was so strong, but I didn't know how it's going to happen. And this is the interesting thing about God, right? He plants seeds, but most of the time he's not going to give you an equation that 1 + 1 is equal to this, right? So that faith always has to be activated. And I can tell you, when I started in Dombi, I bought 6 yards of fabric. At that time, I wasn't even sure what yards were in meters. I made a skirt. In total, I spent 200 dirhams. That's how much I started in Dombi with. I wore the skirt. People started asking about it, and I started making more. And over time, that's how the business has grown, right? But the challenge was, okay, do I have what it takes? Do I really have what it takes? You've given me this vision, but do I have what it takes? And doesn't that remind you of many stories in the Bible where God entrusts someone with a mission, and they'll say something like, I don't have the words. I don't have this. I don't have that. And I find that that's been a reoccurring thing, especially earlier on in the business, where I now have to trust God. Like, I have these ideas, and I can see where the business can go, but I still have to be taking baby steps, right? Whether it's because the business is not ready to grow to that, or the market is not ready, but just being able to believe that if God has given me this vision, He will provide for me to see it through. Maybe it's not now that He expects me to do it. Maybe I have to just hustle to get it done. That wisdom that you'll need along the way to figure out. But at the end of the day, my point is, there have been many times where I've needed God to provide, and I don't know where that provision is coming from. And now that I've been in business for a while, I find that it seems to be a common thing. You never get a point where, as your business grows, you always want it to get bigger. You always have
you want it to grow,
Exactly. You want it to grow, but sometimes it's not time for it to grow. It's not time.
Right there. Because now, can you imagine if you keep pushing? And that is wisdom. Because if you keep pushing, it may lead to some other ways. And you step back and you say, okay, this is what is happening. Let me go back to the vision again. So I just wanted to say, that's wisdom, Thando, that you even can articulate that and really realize that, okay,
it may be not time. Maybe it's not, just because it's been given to you as a vision, it doesn't necessarily mean, or the idea is there, it doesn't necessarily mean it's time to act on it for it to happen. And that's where I think seeking God is very, very important, and getting that guidance. And I think with each person, when you face challenges and you turn to God, you develop, the more you have a relationship with God, right? You develop an understanding of finding your peace. If you don't know what to do, when God is speaking to you, that go for it. You start developing a knowledge of, do I just put the brakes on this, or should I just run with it? Because there's some times where God will give you a vision, you go for it, and He does provide. And other times He delays it, right? That's when you start seeing over time that maybe this is what God is saying to me. Maybe I should just hold off on this. Maybe I should just write it down and park it off. And the interesting thing is, Fauza, like, for example, I've also been going through a few challenges. I know we'll probably talk about this, but where the whole world has been in turmoil for the last 2 years, I'll expand on that later. But it's interesting when I look back, because now it's making sense what season God was putting my business in. And I've seen that it's been a big season of building networks, building wholesome, healthy partnerships. But when I look back, all those partnerships have been sent by God. I haven't been looking for them. I haven't been sourcing them out. But it's like God has been uprooting a lot of things and planting a lot of networks in the process.
Yeah.
So, and you're looking at it as a challenge. COVID is doing this, COVID is doing that, COVID is doing that. But meanwhile, God is planting those seeds, you know. So I think in terms of challenges, just to sum it all up, I always have challenges as a business person. It's just how to tackle them. Some are smaller challenges, whether it's admin, being exhausted, you know, or trying to find certain suppliers or contacts, and other ones really come from within, like I was saying, where we've spoken about this with our network of business ladies, you know, where am I good enough? Should I do this? Where sometimes the vision is so much bigger than, like, you know, uncharted territory. I have that at times where I'm like, there's a collection I want to create, and I'm like, how am I even going to start? Is it going to be great? You know, and God is like, can you look back? What have we done with you before?
Taking you from Egypt to the promised land, child.
I've done it before.
And thank you so much to that. I'm so happy that you actually sharing honestly and authentically, because that's the reason why I have these diaries. It's because other people who maybe they are stranded or they're in a similar situation, they will stumble us now, and even later on this conversation go like, that's what I was waiting for. That is what I needed. You know, sometimes you just need someone else to say, you're okay, just keep going.
Yes. You're not on an island. It happens to all of us.
No, and that's what I love doing these diaries, Thando. So I just love everything you have shared, but I want us to talk about the barriers. The barriers. I know you've shared a bit about that, was more personal, you know, when it comes to your faith and how, you know, you're listening to God when the going gets tough. And that's what faith is all about. But also the Bible says, count it all joy, brethren.
Yes.
When your faith is tested, you know, because it produces hope and steadfast. It goes on with a lot of things.
Yeah.
Then there are also barriers, you know, where women entrepreneurs face. So how can we address these issues, Thando?
You know, there are a lot of barriers we face as women, and I think it also depends where you've come from, where you're based, what the social norms are, right? So if you're coming from a society where women, which happens in a lot of societies, and I think it is a global issue, that there really isn't much equality as yet, regardless of industries. I know a lot of people will think even in fashion is mostly by women. It's actually not. A lot of designers who have done really well are actually not women, right? So that equality in terms of being able to make decisions, being able to have input, and to have a voice, right? And it all goes back down to the social norms that personally I think it goes back down to the family lives, where are women heard within the home? Because this translates to, are women heard at work? Are they heard in their industries? Because it affects that confidence, and it's a barrier for a lot of women to say, I am knowledgeable. A lot of women are walking around with masters, PhDs, but they have no voice. You know, they can't make decisions. You know, their capabilities are questioned. You know, lots of women go through this on a daily basis, regardless of race, regardless of age. Women go through this constantly within industry. So I feel like that's probably one of the biggest barriers. You know, there's this narrative that women can't have it all. You know, you can't be a mom, a businesswoman, and have a career at the same time, and be a wife.
Yes, and also submit, you know, it's so fun you saying this, Thando. It's like you need to have a certain things, but you cannot do all of this.
Yes.
I mean, when we go back to the woman in Proverbs 31,
yes,
the woman was
she does everything, hey? Sometimes I'm like, God, is this woman real? Because, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's why in Proverbs 31, she wakes up very early. She wakes up very early because she needs to have time to do all of that stuff. And I'm like, Lord, I'm not a morning person. How will I do all of these things? She's an amazing woman, right? She gets to do everything.
Yeah.
Why can't the modern woman do that? You know? Yeah.
That is a good statement right there. And I want us to talk, because for us to be able to do all these things, it all comes down to finances, isn't it?
Yes.
Because I know one of the things that you have a lot back at home, and I'm not going to talk on your behalf because I want you to talk a bit about that in this next bit, the financial independence for women, because I know that is one thing you always say, especially in the moments, when we are thinking, you always say to me, Fauza, if you help a woman to be independent financially,
yeah, she's done. She's sorted.
She's sorted.
Yeah.
She's sorted. And I know you for that, and you speak what you do what you speak. So what do you think financial independence for women is so profound?
It's important because I feel like it goes back to giving her power and a voice. So a woman who is financially independent is self-empowered. Whether to her, let's say she's a stay-at-home mom, whether she's a stay-at-home mom, whether she's a business owner, if she is financially independent, besides feeling more fulfilled, there is a certain power that comes with having a voice and being able to contribute to your society and your children, and being able to, for example, employ other people and other women. A woman who's financially independent has a voice, and having that voice means that she can empower others. That alone changes your society completely. So I love working with these communities of women, and I think I've always said this to you, that I don't think that I empower them just because I assist them to move their products. I feel they are self-empowered because they're already using their hands. The skill that God has given them. I didn't give them that gift, So I don't like to say that I am empowering them. I'm enabling to move their product. Whereas I feel they are self-empowered because they were clever enough to think on their own that I have the skill, let me use it, I will sell this, and I can feed my family. That woman is empowered to change that child's life, to take them to school, take them to university. And when that child's life has changed, it changes their society. It changes the way that child gives back. It changes the way that woman as well is empowered to grow her business, to employ other people. I know I'm speaking about this passionately because it's something that I feel so strongly about. And sometimes financial independence doesn't have to be having a lot of money. It's just being able to enable yourself to do more. Do more, whether it's for your kids, whether it's, like I was saying, even if you're a stay-at-home mom, even if it allows you to maybe do an extra sport for your child or teach them a skill, even if that's all you have, but you have empowered yourself to provide for that child who's going to change their life later on, right? So I think basically, to sum it up, financial independence gives power, it gives a voice. And when a woman has power and a voice, there's nothing more that they need to actually change their society and their own lives.
They can sit here and they can't be bothered.
No. At all.
Oh, I love that. I love that, and I love you. What will be your final takeaway?
Takeaway.
To a young girl watching us, even to a boy watching. Talk to the people, our people. Our people, our people. Talk to them, give them something.
I think the biggest thing I can give our people is, if you look at, I'm only speaking this from a position of testimony, right?
And that's the power.
Everyone thinks it's perfect. Yes, exactly. Everyone thinks it's perfect, it's beautiful. This working in fashion is 90% not glamorous. The glamour comes when someone looks pretty wearing what you made, right? The rest is a lot of hard work. It's hard work, pain, tears, sweat, blood, joy, all of it in one. But our people, the ones who've either started or haven't started, I know we face very many challenges that are similar.
Yeah.
Like I said, know your why. There are a couple of takeaways here, but know your why is so important, Fauza. When things don't seem to be adding up, when you don't have the resources, there's one thing that keeps you waking up, even if that day all you have is to be able to make that call to a connection or someone in your network to say, I need assistance in doing this. That why will keep you getting up and doing what you need to do. It's not always financial. And I've had to learn that because God always gives you other things that you can be doing to carry on watering those seeds. But the why keeps you waking up. It keeps you going, regardless of whether you have plenty or whether you don't have plenty, And the other takeaway is to stay rooted. I had a couple of challenges a couple of weeks ago, and I remember having to really push my faith and trust God to provide. And I remember just in my prayer, God reminded me of what a tree is like. A tree, like a baobab tree, it's got very deep roots, right? But there's summer, winter, autumn, spring, rain, hail, everything. But those trees still grow to be huge and they don't move. And they're there for hundreds of years. Do you know why? Those roots are still feeding from the correct source.
They're deeper.
They're deep and they are feeding from the correct source. If they were feeding off all the bad stuff, there's no way they're going to last. So it's important to stay rooted, even in your personal life and as a business owner. As long as it's connected to the correct source, you will stand. You will survive the seasons, And that for me was such a big thing that I still feel is still settling in my heart, to be honest. I felt like it was such a good ministry that God ministered to me, but it's still, I'm marinating, as I always say. I'm marinating on this thing because I want it to really sit deep in my soul. And being part of a community, Fauza, I had 4 takeaways. Being part of a community. I mentioned networking earlier and God bringing the right people into my life. But the right people doesn't mean they're perfect or they have more than you or they'll do things for you. I think the right people is when God brings people into your life to help you carry out your purpose, whether that be a word of encouragement, whether that be providing financing, whether that is a sister friends group that prays with you. It's really important because that contributes to staying rooted, right? So that's a major takeaway. And yeah, the last one, like I said, is just work with what you have. Start with where you are. We always talk about the mustard seed, having faith as small as the mustard seed. The result is always bigger. We always speak about the fish and the loaves. Just when you're thinking there's nothing,
The 5 and
God
2,
can multiply it. God can multiply it. So these are takeaways that I think even for myself, I always have a reminder to do. But I find that that's what keeps me going as an entrepreneur, as a wife, as a mom. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sissy.
How good is that? Such a great discussion.
Yeah, thank you so much. You see, I'm like, yay, she said yes.
We can go on forever.
We can go on forever, Sissy, but I'm telling you, your testimony, I always believe in the power of sharing our stories because your story, your testimony will be an encouragement to another person. It activates hope, it activates our faith, and knowing that you started somewhere. And that's something that is so powerful that you have said. Start where you are. Know your why. Be rooted. Where do you draw your strength from? Because your Thando, social media. We need to, I don't know, maybe we should start praying for this thing because it's beautiful. We can do this now and share this on social media. Other people will be like, wow, Thando started somewhere. But it has also enabled a lot of other issues. And that is what I love what you've said. Where are you rooted?
Where is your source? Where are they rooted? It's a very important question because if you know where you're rooted, you know who you are. You don't need somebody, and you might not get it right all the time. We're human after all, but it's always a compass. You know where to go back to, right? Like you're saying, things like social media. It's great. It's dandy. It's beautiful. It's a nice distraction in the middle of the day when you just want to break, etc. But it's so crazy how social media has become so rooted in people's minds that they forget that it's not a reality, you know. So when you're going through your everyday challenges, all social media does is make your challenges bigger. Like you're not doing enough, like you're not giving enough. You know, there was a lady I saw last week. She's an influencer in South Africa, and she was saying, you know, it's crazy because I started developing imposter syndrome because I'm on social media so much. Everyone just looks like they're doing the most, and when I do the most, I don't feel like I deserve it. And then she also spoke about how on the days that she wasn't going to gym, if she went on social media and saw everybody on their treadmill, it used to be inspiration for her, but now it's making her feel like she's not doing what she's supposed to be doing. Now, when you find that infiltrating you like that, it's time to shut it down and kind of go back to what your root is, right? And what you're grounded in to kind of keep you balanced out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Thando. Well, I'm not going to add anything to what Thando has said,
Aww.
really. And it's because she has really, I, not just because I know her, but I know her heart is also beautiful. So when you see her here on this platform, she is the same outside this platform and on social media. So, and I'm just grateful that, you know, we've had this sisterhood, this relationship. She's my prayer confidant also. I tell you, she told me the other day, Sissy, sometimes it's okay to also cancel yourself. That for me has been carrying me. That is how I am telling you, she is beautiful heart. Not just the hair, yo, but the
Yeah.
heart as well. Don't let
Thank
our hair fool you. Her heart is even more beautiful.
Yeah, she's not just crazy. There's some heart in there too.
Beautiful.
I love you so much, sis. I love you to bits. And yeah, you've also been such a positive influence on my life, and just being around you has revived my faith that I remember I had like 10 years ago, you know, when I was so excited about the word and God, and just it just reminds me of how far God has brought me over the years. So I'm really, really happy that we've crossed paths. And yeah, thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on Fauza's Diary. And for you, my viewers, if you would like to get hold of Thando's Ntombi Couture pieces, she does amazing, amazing, amazing clothing. I'm telling you, not just because I am saying it, it's because I know so as well. And the details are below. You know, she does almost everything: evening wear, day gowns, suits, men. She is a powerhouse and she does really beautiful designs. So if you have something and you are here in Dubai, she's your girl to go to. Her social medias and her email addresses are below this conversation. So just go to her Instagram, you can DM her and she will get back to you, and she's going to make you really beautiful pieces that will suit you just the way you are. That is her vision for Ntombi Couture. Okay, and of course, as well, if you haven't gotten a copy of Transform Fear to Freedom, I want to encourage you to get a grab of it. If you're in Dubai, it's in Kinokuniya in the Dubai Mall, or you can buy on Amazon or on FauzaBelts.com. Yes, COVID is still here, so we need to be careful. Let us wear our mask. Let us wash our hands. Let us be responsible. Yes, we are in a very strange seasons. But what I know for sure, God is in this with us. And as they say, tough seasons don't last, but tough people do last. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to subscribe. Thando, you want to add anything?
Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe.
Subscribe and share, and we will see you soon. Go follow Thando. She's got amazing, amazing, amazing content. Bye for now, and I will see you guys soon with another inspiring conversation just like this one.